Chris, you know so much about real estate. Were you born with this knowledge? No, I too had mentors. So this week, we've got Bob Jaekel, the man who helped me get my real estate license when I was just beginning to invest in real estate. So I'm very proud to have Bob Jaekel this week on The G.L.O Show. Christopher Goodson here, and today on The G.L.O Show, I brought one of my mentors. Now, I've been doing real estate a long time, but Bob Jaekel helped me get my real estate license how many years ago?
Got to be, what, 18, 20 years ago?
Ooh.
Oh, a long time ago.
Back when I was a young lad.
I was young too. So.
Bob helped me get my real estate license. Now, I got my real estate license for my own investing. And a lot of the real estate investors out there started out as real estate agents. I got it so I had my own access to the MLS. I got it so that I had a better pulse on the market. At that time, I was buying apartment buildings in Jersey City and Hoboken, and I was trying to get to those properties first. But Bob, let's talk about your real estate investing. How did you start out? You know, in the 40s.
Yeah, I was in the 40s, that's right. I started actually investing in the early 80s, and it does sound like the 40s. But back in the early 80s, financing was a lot easier to achieve at that time than it is today. Mm-hmm. But you and I, we've talked about this many times over the past 18 years. The market really hasn't changed that much. With the FHA program, a buyer could go out there and buy a house with very little down. I just actually sold an investor a property. It's actually, I shouldn't say investor, he's going to live in the property. But FHA loan, I think his total investment was $5,000 to buy a $314,000 house. That's with a seller credit. And it was actually less money for him to put down than it was for him to rent. He was currently paying $2,000 rent. If you think about him renting another house, it's going to be what, $2,000 commission, $2,000 for a month's rent, and $3,000 security. It was going to cost him $7,000 to move into a house as a rental. He was actually able to buy it for $5,000 and move in. So I think the younger people today have a lot better opportunity today than I did at my time.
Now, I remember I was in your class, and Bob was teaching the real estate class, and I kept on raising my hand and directing the topic to real estate investing. I was really there to learn about real estate for investing purposes, not to sell houses. And I remember one piece of advice you gave. I said, Mr. Jaekel, if you were to get involved in real estate investing, how does somebody start today? And what you told me, tell me if this advice still goes through, that you'd be best off getting an FHA mortgage on a 3-family home. Live in there just for a year or two, all right? You know, actually move in, live in there for a year or two, but now you can get in your first rental property. If you buy right, it's cash flow positive from the beginning, and that's at least getting your foot in the door into the world of real estate investing. Is that advice still valid today, though?
I agree 100% with you, and I have a son that just turned 18. I wish he was 2 or 3 years older because I'd be giving him the same advice and I'd be helping him buy that first property.
And if you're owner occupying a 2 or 3 family property, the rules are different. If I own a 3-family and I'm not on the site, certain rent controls apply, certain ability to get tenants out are different than when you're owner occupied. Those are 2 different sets of rules. An owner occupied 3-family, the landlord can quickly get out a tenant for a whole bunch of reasons that you couldn't if it was a non-owner occupied multifamily property. Now, one thing else that I remember you kind of specialized in, you believed in buying properties in good towns.
Yes.
Right? Weren't you buying 2s and non-conforming?
Yes, everything I bought were 2 up to 2 to 4 families.
Right.
I bought, actually in my area, I was buying in towns like Ridgewood, Glen Rock, Franklin Lakes, Wawa, towns that I consider to have excellent schools and good support taxes, or at least good transportation. This area where you are, Montclair, would be a perfect example for you.
Right. I own a 2-family here in Montclair. You've heard me say it before. I love buying in Montclair. I also love those towns. Mm-hmm. Where you live in that section of Bergen County is a great investment if you can find the properties at the prices. The market in those areas didn't take the hit that brought them down to cash flow neutral or cash flow positive areas. I guess if you can negotiate a short sale or you can find a probate, you might be able to work a special deal. Are you doing any investing these days, or are you waiting for the market to change?
Actually, most of the properties I have now, the three, I actually have four right now, and they all have less than 3 years left on the mortgage.
Wow.
So 3 to 4 years, they're all going to be totally paid for, straight cash flow coming through, which is nice. It's a nice retirement income.
And I've said this before. Let me say this again. Flipping properties is great. Big checks are lots of fun, but long-term wealth has always been built on a buy and hold strategy. I'm not discouraging anybody from wholesaling. I'm not discouraging anybody from rehabbing, quite the opposite. But once you have a base of cash where you've got some money in the bank, buy and hold, because that is where you get a retirement income of just sitting back and collecting cash.
Well, I always tell people, I would sell if I found something to buy.
Right.
So if I found something that I like better, I would sell.
And then you can 1031 like on exchange it, and then you don't have to have the taxable income as well.
And I think that if I did things over, I probably should have sold some of my properties and bought commercial property back 10, 15 years ago.
Right, right. And we're going to talk a lot about commercial investing as well. I've got more and more clients who are going into commercial properties. I think next month we're going to have Mario Camino from the Arcad Group, who just purchased his third commercial property down in the Plainfield area. What do you think about the opportunities for commercial right now?
Oh, I think the opportunity is out there, but actually, I wanted to talk to you a little bit why I think the opportunity is out there.
Yes.
I think that this area of the country is going to be one of the strongest growth areas in the next 10 to 15 years. I mean, I almost have this projection that 3D technology is going to lead to where we're going to be the manufacturing and the distribution center for the world. And that with the Bayonne Bridge being raised,
You're talking about the ports,
transportation, the ports,
right?
Like the gas coming off the Marcellus Shale coming right into this area, the oil from North Dakota coming into this area. I just think that we're going to be a major distribution and transportation center, technology center, and
cheap fuel, good connections to the outside world. Those transportation paths, not just within the country, but out.
Everywhere. I think Europe will be distributed through here.
Right.
And I think that actually at some point we're going to have gas going from this country to Europe, not from Russia going into Europe.
Well, they're talking about liquefying the natural gas, and then shipping it to Eastern Europe.
I think that young people starting out now have a great potential. I think that when I started out, we went through a really nasty recession before I started out, and a lot of people just thought it would never turn around, and we had some of the greatest growth years ever. I think that the younger people starting out today are going to run into that same situation.
Bob, I want to thank you for coming out.
Chris, I'm always glad to help you. At least we got people sober this time, our first event.
Bob is referring to the first Real Estate Investment Club meeting. Bob was our first speaker about 10 years ago in a bar in Hoboken, and I made the mistake of making it open bar. So we practically had hecklers by the time the meeting wrapped up. But Bob was our first speaker. We've had him back many times since then. He's a wealth of knowledge. And sir, I want to thank you for always
glad to help you. Glad to know you as a personal friend, and glad to see you become successful.
Thanks, Bob. Do you want to become a better real estate investor? Go to njreclub.com. You'll get invites to all of our events and all of the G.L.O. Show videos.